Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 346, written by alyssajeana, a glitch to boot. I have these new boots I got a while back. I've worn them once already and love them. I took them off and placed them by the door, and they've been sitting there since then. Well, I wanted to wear them today, so I grabbed them by the door and put one on, and went to put the other one on. The new shoe stuffing was still in the boot, as if I had never worn them before, like perfectly placed in there. The little wad of tissue in the toe area, and a larger wad of tissue in the part where you slide your foot in, and the cardboard piece that holds the boot up. I asked my husband if he put anything in my boot, and he looked at me like I'm crazy and didn't understand my question. And you can tell I wore the boot on the bottom of it. It's not brand new soles. You can tell they've been worn at least once. Such a weird experience. Case file number 347, written by fuegopaintrain. When you just need gas, but you go to another universe. I was taking a long road trip with my wife and brother and his wife from Iowa to see our parents in California. I was running low on fuel and didn't think I had enough gas to make it to the nearest major town, so I saw on my phone GPS there was a gas station about 9 miles out of the way. Upon driving there, we all got an uneasy feeling about the town, and the drive seemed much longer than 9 miles, as the GPS said. When we finally got there, it was about 8 p.m. on a Friday night, yet it seemed like a ghost town. Most houses were dark. There was only one other car that we saw, and the gas station was closed, so we had to use a card. We all felt a deep unease in the pit of our stomachs and tried to pump the gas as fast as humanly possible to get the hell out of there. We finally did, and the drive back seemed normal and much shorter than it was there, and our trip continued as usual. Later, we were telling our parents about the weird town and how it felt soul-sucking. I went to show them on my GPS because it would show up in recent search history, but it was missing. I went to the general area on the map because I remembered where it was, and there weren't any small towns at all, not even a gas station for 30 miles in all directions. My conclusion is that my brother and our wives passed into a parallel universe somehow to where that town exists, and since it wasn't our Earth, it explained the sense of dread overcoming our bodies. Case notes. This seems to happen frequently, doesn't it? Crossovers, but not quantum immortality where you're permanently transferred over, like a character transfer in an MMORPG, but is permanent. It's more like in RuneScape where you can switch servers whenever you want. Although in this case you have no idea why it happens, and I don't either. Why do we sometimes cross over, and why is it temporary? Sometimes people are just able to witness the other universe, but it's almost like a flash, a brief glimpse into it, but not really seeing it or being there. And it was your whole group that did this too. Maybe actually what's happening is that we're on a sort of rail system, in a sense, a path that we're supposed to follow, but we still have limited free will, or even full free will. And if we deviate from the expected path in this universe, then we can cross over temporarily, until we shift back to where we were supposed to be. Yeah, that could be it. Bonus file, written by Anonymous. A persistent creepy presence in her family home. When I was a baby, my parents bought an old house in a historical society that used to be a toll house way back in the day. It's approximately 315 years old, but I think I'm lowballing it. I had never felt completely safe in that house for the 25 years I lived there. When I was a kid, I thought it was normal to just always feel like you were being watched and to feel something hanging on your back. I wasn't allowed to go over to people's houses or have anybody over until I got to middle school. I remember going to a friend's normal modern house when I was 12 and immediately feeling safe and private. I didn't feel eyes burning into me. It was so strange to feel that, and I remember dreading going home. It didn't fully click that my house was odd though, until friends came over and they said my house was creepy. I remember going to the bathroom while they were waiting in my bedroom. My dad was asleep in the bed and mom was in her office working. One floor and several rooms adjacent away. I came back from the bathroom and they asked me who I was talking to. I said, I wasn't talking at all, I was in the bathroom. And I remember my one friend telling me she heard two women whispering just outside my door. She thought I was talking to my mom. That moment really chilled me. They were afraid to sleep in my room and ended up staying awake all night. I remember most nights when I would go to bed, it would feel like a man was watching me through my window. I slept on the second floor. It felt like there would be somebody standing on the roof watching me, even though I know there physically was nobody there. I begged my mom for years to get curtains, but she refused. She refused to put any curtains up in the house, and I always felt watched from the roof and backyard. I eventually put up blankets to feel safe, but I still felt eyes burning into me. We had a decently furnished basement where my brother and I had all our video game stuff. Anytime I brought friends down there, they would always ask to go back upstairs instead, but never said why. I grew to love and hate the basement as it was a respite from my mother, but then I would have to deal with the door opening and shutting by itself, as well as feeling hands on my ankles from time to time if I tried to nap. I remember one time asking my brother if he ever experienced that, and he said he would often feel a sensation of a hand by his feet, but ignored it because it was that or deal with my mother. Not getting into that can of worms, but yes, we preferred being terrified instead of dealing with our mother. It soon became a running joke not to go into the basement unless you wanted to get grabbed, and it became normal to just feel fucking uncomfortable down there at all times. Not many things happened to me physically at that house. Almost always it was feelings of being watched or seeing a figure in my peripheral vision only to turn around and nothing be there. There are a few more things of note that I can think of now, and one is that there were regularly footsteps in my parents' bedroom, but unlike everything else that happened in that house, this was comforting. In the summer, we would sleep on my parents' floor because it saved on AC. I would stay up very late on my Game Boy while my parents slept, but frequently the sound and feeling of footsteps would go by me on the floor. This was when I was very young and it was just a normal thing, and they made me feel safe, like whoever was walking around was making sure everything was alright. Even as I got older, I would sit in the room directly below. If I heard footsteps up there while my parents were in the other rooms, I kinda felt at ease, like whoever was up there wanted me to know they were there. Also, we had quite a large backyard, about an acre of land, and it was really pretty, but I would often have terrifying nightmares of it most nights. I would have bad dreams about people dragging me out there or wild animals attacking me while figures watched. I honestly believe people may have died out there. I stayed out of the backyard as much as possible when I lived there, and those dreams plagued me for years. The last thing I can think of off the top of my head was when I was in my senior year of high school. My mom and I were really at odds as I was the only child left in the house. She kept asking me to go to sleep on the floor in the living room. At this point in my life, she slept on the couch and my dad slept in the bed because he genuinely snores so loud she couldn't take it. I really didn't want to sleep in there with her. The living room has 4 large windows, 2 facing outside and 2 facing the backyard. I hated it. I reluctantly agreed, and I remember her leaving the TV on some animal channel when she fell asleep. I was laying on the floor on my phone when suddenly I felt a full hand, palm and fingers, lay on the back of my head and very quickly shove my head down into the pillow. I'm getting anxious typing about it. The only people home were my mom, myself, and my dad. I could hear my dad snoring upstairs, and my mom was 5 feet away on my couch. I was utterly terrified and I yelled, "Stop!" and hid under my pillow in fear. My mom freaked out and had no idea what was going on, and I was too afraid to move. She didn't believe me when I told her what had happened, and I remember going back up to my bedroom and praying to whatever God would listen to keep me safe from whatever had done that. I could still feel the phantom sensation of that hand, and I remember basically never going into the living room again after that unless it was daytime and somebody else was with me. The older I got, the less safe I felt in that house. I eventually isolated myself in my bedroom when I wasn't at school or work, but I couldn't fall asleep until 8 or 9 in the morning. I just always felt watched. I started buying white and black candles from the local pagan store as they told me white was to promote positive energy and black was to protect my mind. You can imagine after 25 years of weird shit and feeling unsafe, I was willing to try anything to keep me feeling somewhat sane. It helped a lot, but maybe it was just a placebo. Who knows? Now I live in an apartment very far away from that house and experience 0 paranormal things. I don't feel watched. I don't feel scared. And I don't have nightmares. I finally feel safe. I hate going there to visit my parents.